Hello everyone, my name is Artem Medvedev. You're listening to News and Views on Leduc Radio. As it is the beginning of a new academic term at the university, I, as an instructor of 15 students, suddenly have my hands full of a lot of things to do, but I'll try to be brief and yet informative about what happened in the past week. But first of all, I would like to remind you that our roundtable on labor rights and privatization issues in Canada is on September 20th at 7 p.m. at Riverbend Public Library. I really hope to see you there. We already have confirmed attendance from CUPW, CUPE, and the Council of Canadians. A lot of news that came out this week is connected to Afghanistan. First of all, the Defense Department has scrapped its plans to honor the Afghanistan veterans and families of the war dead. There was a plan in the works to commemorate the ending war, officially ending war, in Afghanistan on Remembrance Day, but now this is not going to happen. The war that lasted for 10 years is now not being commemorated at its end, and the big question arises as to how long it will take the Canadian government to recognize the war in Afghanistan. At the same time, Canada apparently rejects a majority of Afghan interpreter refugee claims. As you know, this was a much-announced program that was supposed to assist the Afghani interpreters that were helping Canadian soldiers during the most difficult battles in Afghanistan and during the reconstruction projects in that country to obtain refugee status in Canada because of the dangers that they're facing in their homeland after helping foreign military. And apparently at least 2/3 of applicants are being rejected. Just dozens of people are successful, but this takes a very long time, and the rules for eligibility are being changed and made more and more impossible for interpreters to comply with. One of the rules is, for example, 12 consecutive months of employment with the Canadian military in Afghanistan. At the same time as this promise to the Afghani interpreters that were helping Canadians in Afghanistan are being broken, there's news of millions of dollars missing or unaccounted for, millions of dollars given by the international community to the government of Karzai in Afghanistan. Right now, the search for this money is still ongoing, but as was officially noted last year, the current government in Afghanistan is the second most corrupt government in the world. Therefore, the search should not be as difficult. And while all of this brings up the questions of why did we ever get involved in that war, and what was our mission, and where is it leading us, given the fact that we have a continued military presence in Afghanistan, the Conservative government is not doing anything in order to make our image abroad better and to explain Canada's foreign policy to Canadians. One of the major projects in the Conservative foreign politics now is hanging up the Queen's portraits in all embassies and consulates of Canada abroad. Apparently this was a major directive. The embassies and consulates were given just a few days to comply, and in some way the absence of those portraits was an eyesore for Stephen Harper's government, in the same way as the lack of royal titles in the Canadian military. As you would have heard, the royal names are being returned to Canadian military units, and this is touted as a major project that is supposed to somehow mobilize us and make us more patriotic and aware of our history. At the same time, many people are noting that all these notes to the international community is this certain colonial understanding of ourselves that Canada seems to be very proud of, or at least Stephen Harper's government seems to be very proud of. In other news, an Arctic oil spill cleanup would be badly hindered. A group of researchers tried to simulate, I hope not in the Arctic, but on computer programs and in controlled environments, an oil spill in Arctic waters. And the results that they come up with is that the cleanup, using the same methods as were used in the Gulf of Mexico, for example, would be impossible. Therefore, if, God forbid, they do start major oil drilling projects in the Arctic and something like the Horizon project blowout might happen, then the cleanup would practically be impossible and would take years and years due, surprisingly, to the ice in the Arctic waters. News came out this week that the Air Canada flight attendants will be going on strike shortly. As you know, they were about to go on strike just recently in summer, but now Air Canada has failed to reach another agreement with them, and there are looming strikes for the pilots and the baggage handlers of Air Canada as well. And the big question here is what is wrong with Air Canada's approach to organized labor? And there is a very simple answer to that question. The answer is Stephen Harper and his government. By their policy towards Canada's postal workers, making people go back to work for less money than the Canada Post Corporation was originally promising, the Harper government has given a clear signal to major companies throughout the country that they should not really be open to fair negotiations with the unions, because the Harper government is always on the side of big money and big corporations. This will certainly be one of the topics that we will discuss on September 20th at our roundtable at Riverbend Public Library. And just to end with a little comment, there is an article on CBC right now that the NDP is talking about unity despite a looming leadership race. And this unity despite a looming leadership race is a quote. I just wanted to make a quick note that leadership races are a perfectly normal practice in democratic parties, and that unity is not at stake here. If a party does not have a leadership race and does not have debates inside it, then it is a very different party from what the Canadian Social Democrats are. So there is no need for cheap sensationalism here. And this is all for this week. My name is Artem Medvedev. You're listening to News and Views on Duke Radio.